We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay, and welcome to another League of Legends video, and I just got some crazy, weird pop-out coming on, but I'm going to ignore it, because I want to do a League of Legends video. This time I want to do a breakdown of the AD carries available right now in League of Legends. I want to kind of talk about their abilities, their popularity, kind of where I rank them in my own personal list, and also using some objective data from LolKing. And just kind of talk about each of them and kind of how they all stack up. And this is kind of aimed at somebody who, if you're kind of interested in getting into AD carry, and you're not really sure kind of the layout of the whole AD carry scene, if that makes sense, hopefully this will kind of explain to you where all these different champions kind of sit in the mix, if it makes sense like that. So I've got all their wiki pages up here. We're going to go through them all when we get there. But let's start with this. These stats are taken from LolKing on 327. So and that was actually last week. So, but these are weekly stats, and I say that I personally think they're somewhat accurate, just kind of based on the feel of the community and the popular and the NA LCS scene right now, and the pro gamers. So basically, I took these stats. You can order them in the meta by AD carry, and then it also gives them their popularity. That's kind of what I'm focusing on. So I grabbed all of them from LolKing about a week ago, and then I ordered them by their popularity and kind of broke them down into 3 tiers. There's the first tier, 1 through 5, the second tier, 6 through 10, and the third tier is 3 through 15. So let's just kind of start at the bottom and work our way up. So Ergot is the least played AD carry. I would say that Ergot maybe shouldn't be on the list just because I mean, he's kind of an AD carry, but kind of not. Let's just take a look at his page. Biggest thing about Ergot is he has 425 auto attack range, so kind of doesn't really make him an AD carry. His best thing that he has going for him is his E-Q combination. Basically, you land your E on the enemy, and then you spam your Qs on them over and over again because they will lock on, and they have tremendous range, tremendous damage, just boatloads of damage. He's a real lane bully, but he's not really, I would say, a typical AD carry. He also has a shield, which is kind of interesting, makes him a bit more of a bruiser, and also his position reverser kind of works best if you kind of get up close and personal. So he's kind of a hybrid bruiser AD carry combination. But he's hard to use. I would say that's probably the worst thing he has going on is that he's very difficult to use, very difficult to play right. Landing that E, Q, Q, Q over and over again is a little bit harder than it seems, and it requires some good positioning, a lot of micromanagement. It's a lot harder than just right-clicking. So Ergot is interesting. I think he can be very strong. I've seen him played in the LCS, and I actually have seen him banned a couple times too. So he's capable of being a really, really strong lane bully. If you want to really wreck a carry's day, I would say that Ergot is one of the best ways to do it. But overall, he's difficult to use, his low range, and he's kind of a weird bruiser AD carry hybrid. So let's go on to Corki. Corki, I believe, is next at 2.98% popularity. Corki was quite popular in the past, but he's kind of fallen off as of late. I think that, and I'm not really sure why. I haven't played a ton of Corki. I've played a little bit. Corki is capable of some very strong burst with his phosphorus bomb, his Gatling gun, and his Valkyrie. He's very bursty. He also has missile barrage, which is an interesting ability. It's more based on ammo than it is on cooldown, so it kind of provides for some interesting counterplay. But basically, Corki, he's got 550 range, so that's fine. He just isn't quite as strong. He doesn't quite have I just think that his biggest problem, he doesn't really fit the meta right now. A champion like Caitlyn, I think really typifies what people are looking for in an AD carry, the ability to really sit back and just rain death from afar. If you look at like Cop and his play in the LCS so far, he's just got ridiculously few deaths. For Team Curse, he never dies. I think that is probably kind of why Corki isn't quite as useful, just because he's more dependent on burst damage than he is on sustained long-range damage. But he does have an escape with his Valkyrie. He's capable of some wave clear and some burst damage with his Gatling gun. But, and he does some true damage, too, with his Hextech Shrapnel Shell. So I think Corki could come back. I think he definitely is capable of being quite strong. But I just think that right now, personally, he doesn't quite fit the meta right now. But also, I'm not a real expert on Corki, but just based on the statistics, he comes next. So let's keep going. Next is Cogma. Cogma is, I think, a very interesting choice. He's kind of an interesting mix. All of his abilities scale off of AP, except a little bit on his ultimate. But, he has very, very short auto attack range at 500. He also has this weird passive where he runs around and blows up after he dies. So really kind of a wild and crazy champion. Now, Kog'Maw's biggest redeeming strengths are all found in his Bio-Arcane Barrage. Basically, he gains bonus range, and he does percentage-based damage. This is really what makes Cogma strong. Is his range, I believe, at max rank 210 plus 500 is 710. So that's a lot of range. I mean, you're pretty much at, I believe that Tristana at level 18 is like 718 or something like that. So very, very close to Tristana's like range. And because you're doing percentage-based damage late game, you just become an absolute monster. And this is why he's considered a hyper carry, because he's doing percentage-based damage, and he's got such great range. He's capable of really wrecking people's faces. So yeah, he's a very interesting champion. He also has a really nice attack speed boost with his passive on his Q, which is really nice. And also he has a nice slow with his Void Ooze. So a pretty nice kit. Also his Living Artillery has crazy long range up to 2200. So Cogma, I think, can be quite strong. The only thing about Cogma, I think he's a little bit difficult to play. He's not quite as straightforward as someone, say, like Misfortune. But Cogma is definitely seen on the LCS. I know that he's definitely a popular pick if you're looking for a late game hyper carry. I think he's a strong choice, but the 500 auto attack range is a little bit tricky. It can make his laning a little bit of a challenge. In order to become a hyper carry, you have to get a lot of farm, so you want to have a strong laning phase. And I'm not 100% sure if Cogma is the best choice for that, but he's still a strong champion, and actually, to be honest, I think he deserves to be a little bit higher on the list than third from the bottom, but that's where the stats are putting him this week. So, this definitely is not an objective list by any means, but that's where he is. So that's where I'm going to put him. Next comes Quinn. Quinn, I think this is very interesting that she is here at only 4.8%, 38% played. This is like very, very recently after she was released. Release date was March 1st, and these stats were taken on March 27th. So within the first month of her release, and she's already seeing low play. And I think that really the biggest thing about Quinn is that she really is not a traditional AD carry. She has low range, and also her ultimate goes into melee form. So really, she doesn't function like a traditional AD carry. She really, I think, is something new and different. And really, I think Quinn could find her place in the meta in a different way. I actually watched a game very recently in the LCS where I believe it was Vulcan played her in the mid lane. It was more of a roaming type of a champion who, was focused more on kind of almost like a Twisted Fate style, where you're really, you pop your ultimate, you run down to a lane that needs help, and you kind of swing the tide of a battle to your side. And I also think I heard Jat saying that with her ultimate and with Tier 3 Boots of Mobility and Home Guard, you can actually make it from your base to the enemy base in like something like 20 seconds or something. Like within the time of her ultimate, you can literally make it all the way. So like she literally is capable of the highest speeds in the entire game. Just capable of some crazy strong split pushing. She's a really good dueler with her Q. It provides a blind, kind of similar to Teemo's. It also does AoE damage. So her Q is very, very strong ability. And then when you combine that with her Vault, which allows her to reposition, and then her ultimate gives her some crazy, crazy fast mobility. All of that, I think, creates this very interesting mix that just is a type of champion that we have not seen before. She really is unlike any of the other AD carries, and she doesn't really fit the traditional mold of an AD carry, but she is still, I think, strong. I just think that really right now it's it's a little bit early for us for the scene to really understand how to use her best. And I could see her coming into a very unique position, fitting into certain team comps very, very, very well. But I guess we'll see. She's just an interesting champion. She's, like I said, unlike anything we've seen before. Just kind of a strange mix of different abilities. So that is that. I believe that's it for Tier 3. Nope, we still have Sivir. So Sivir is another champion. I actually really like Sivir. And I think that she fits pretty well. I don't really see her that often, and if I had to pick her, I would put her more towards the bottom. Her biggest weakness is her 500 auto attack range. That's very, very low. Cogman has 500 auto attack range, but he also has his W, which gives him a boost. Whereas Sivir is stuck at 500 auto attack range for the entire game. A bit sad there, but she has a really, really nice mix of abilities. Her Q is a really nice poke, really nice damage. Her W gives an excellent wave clear and good AoE damage in a team fight. Her shield, spell shield, is capable of really changing a game. She can eat a spell that would otherwise really wreck an AD carry's day. Her ultimate is a nice aura, attack speed, movement speed buff steroid, so she can be really strong. If she had 525 or 550 auto attack range, I think that I personally think she would be much, much more popular and more powerful. I mean, really the only thing she's lacking is any sort of hard escape or some sort of repositioning ability, but she's got a really nice kit. She's capable of some really high damage. She's got excellent wave clear. She's probably one of the best pushers in the game, but she does have her limitations as well. So I think she fits pretty well in this type of a position towards the bottom of the list. But she's kind of a sleeper pick too. So that's it for our Tier 3. Moving into our Tier 2 is Twitch. Twitch is an interesting champion. He has stealth, which I think he and Vayne are the only carries that have stealth. I believe that is his Q ability. He also has damage over time, kind of like Teemo, where that damage will tick. So you can get some nice kills there as enemies are trying to run away. He's got a nice, synergy here between his Venom Cast and his Expunge. Basically, you can get some auto attacks off, throw your Venom Cast, and then explode your Expunge, which will actually cause damage to anybody who has deadly venom on them. He also has a nice slow on his Venom Cast. And then really what makes Twitch is his ultimate, the Spray and Pray, gives him 850 auto attack range, which is, I believe, the highest in the game, bar none. So for those 7 seconds, Twitch goes into absolute god mode. And his, he also has these piercing bolts, which are pretty crazy awesome too. So, Twitch is pretty crazy good. His ultimate is really, really useful. I haven't really played a ton of Twitch, so I can't really get into a lot of the nitty-gritty details, but I do think he's a strong champion, and he is seen on the pro scene. He doesn't have any sort of escape. I guess his ambush could be an escape with the invisibility, but really I think his strength is in his ultimate. Just getting that massive, massive range. Late game for a team fight for 7 seconds, you become an absolute beast. And also with his the piercing bolts as well, it just makes him very, very strong in late game team fights. So moving on to Ashe. Ashe is kind of the proverbial AD carry. She's probably the one that everyone started with way back in the day, one of the first champions that people pick up. I know she's the first champion that I ever played, and she has a warm place in my heart. I will always love Ashe. Her strengths are her range. She has 600 range, which is quite strong. She also has 1200 range on her volley. And then her utility is the biggest thing about Ashe. She's not really the raw damage champion, and she also doesn't have any sort of mobility or escape. She's very slow. Her base movement speed is quite slow, and she has no sort of blink or repositioning skill. So she doesn't really fit into the current meta of AD carries, but she's very strong, and I think that she can be a very, very strong AD carry. I really enjoy playing with her, and really with Ashe, you have to play very defensively. You have to play very cautiously and really pounce on an enemy's mistake. With the slows that she gets from her Q and her W, any enemy that individually gets out of position is dead. I would say there are at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 kills a game that I pick up with Ashe simply because an enemy got out of position. I was able to, perma-slow them with my Q. And her volley is very, very annoying to deal with in lane. Just that constant threat of slow can make her a real pest. Her hawk shot is an interesting ability. I you get that bonus gold. I think that for other, I feel like I should start toying around with maxing this first and just going for the kind of like a TF style where you're just getting boatloads of bonus gold. So last hitting is even more effective on Ashe, but it's not the best. I mean, it is nice to get that reveal if you want to check something like Baron or a brush check, something like that. It can be really useful. But and then lastly, her arrow. This is really what makes Ashe Ashe. It's a global stun. It's one of the best initiations in the game, which is very unique for an AD carry. It's very unique for your team to look to the AD carry for initiation. But if you see a squishy who gets a little bit kind of caught out of position as the team is running away, you can arrow them, and then your team gets the kill, and suddenly it's a 4v5. That's probably the best thing that Ashe does, is she turns team fights into 4v5s. She turns a spot where everybody's running away into something that snowballs into a win. She just provides tremendous utility to her team with the stun in her ultimate and the slows on her Q and W. And it's just that's really what makes her strong. She really isn't about damage as much as she is about the utility. So she's a really interesting champion. You do have to be a little more defensive, like I said, with her, but I think she's really strong, and I think a lot of people think very fondly of her just because she's one of the first champions that people pick up. Now, moving forward, we have Varus. Varus, I think, is very similar to Ashe in a lot of regards. I think that, I don't know, some people consider Varus to be like an improved version of Ashe. He has 575 range, which is quite good, a little bit higher than normal. He has really good CC and utility, similar to Ashe. His corruption provides some really nice team stun. It's a really, really strong ability in a team fight because it bounces between enemies. His Hail of Arrows is a very, very effective slow and also a very effective wave clear. So this is probably the ability that I max first. A very long range. His Q also has crazy long range, but it's a little bit slow. It's not the most effective ability, I would say. And then his Blighted Quiver just gives him that bonus on-hit damage. So, Varus is all about poke. He's all about, providing your team with this great utility. He's got long auto attack range at 575. He's a solid champion, and he definitely gets seen on the pro scene. I think that, I've seen Wild Turtle play him a couple of times. He definitely is a very, very solid choice. He doesn't have any sort of escape, which isn't the best, so you do have to be a little more defensively with him. He does get this movement speed from Killer Assist, but a little bit more immobile. But a very interesting champion. He definitely brings some unique things to his team, just with the CC that he brings, with the really long poke. I mean, look at the ranges on these abilities: 475, 925, 1075. Very, very long range. Good poke. A very solid choice. I would say that Varus is capable of being a very, very strong AD carry. Now, Draven. Draven is... We're definitely getting into some of the higher tier here with Draven. Draven is probably the AD carry who's capable of the most just raw, sheer damage output. Everyone who knows anything about Draven has seen his Q, these spinning axes. When you combine that with the Blood Rush, he just becomes a total beast. I mean, you get that bonus physical attack damage almost continuously, and the bonus attack speed almost continuously. I mean, he really is unparalleled in terms of raw damage. He has some nice CC with his Stand Aside, and then also the global ultimate with his Whirling Death is really nice to pick off some enemies or to do some damage in teamfights. Yeah, Draven is really strong. He's very, very strong. He's a little bit more all-in, I would say, than other champions. He doesn't have any sort of escape. He does have the movement speed boost from his Blood Rush, but I would say that Draven, I mean, it's only a 1.5 second movement speed, so very short, but I would definitely say that Draven is very, very strong, and definitely a champion that I think is very capable of just crazy, crazy damage. Doesn't really have any poke. I mean, his Stand Aside has 1050 range, which is good, but that's more used for the knockback and the slow, rather than really the poke that it offers. So he doesn't really have the poke, say, of someone like Varus that we just talked about, or Caitlyn, but in terms of raw damage, I mean, it's all about this right here. This percentage percentage bonus physical damage with his Q. If you learn how to really get those Qs going and get the rhythm going, you're pretty unstoppable in lane. I mean, he's a beast. He does crazy amounts of damage. That's pretty much it with Draven. Tons and tons of damage. Now Graves. Now we're getting into some higher percentages. I think we've crossed into 17% popularity with Graves. Still, this is our last champion in Tier 2. Graves is really, he's quite strong, and I haven't seen him quite as much in the LCS, but Graves is definitely strong choice, and I think that he sees a lot of play. He was one of the most popular 3 kind of in Season 2. I believe that was Asriel, Corki, and Graves, but still very, very strong. The thing about Graves is he's a little bit more up close and personal than some of the others. He has 80 carries, his 525 range on his auto attacks. Also, his buckshot is most effective at close range. So enemies at close range can be hit by multiple projectiles, so they do extra damage. So basically, with Graves, you need to be willing to get a little bit more up into the fight, using your quick draw to dash in, get that movement, that attack speed boost, pop your Q, and really get a lot of damage in. I mean, and with Graves, I think that personally he has the best mix of skills. You know, he's got his buckshot, which offers some poke, some AoE damage. His collateral damage is a really, really nice straight line nuke that works really well in a team fight just to do a lot of AoE damage. His quick draw is a really nice ability that can be used to be aggressive or to get away. His smoke screen actually offers some really nice utility. It gives you that slow when they're inside, and really also one of the underestimated things is the vision. If you're in something like the jungle, you can really dictate the enemy of the vision of the enemy team to the point where they're kind of walking in blind. The smoke screen, I think, is an underestimated ability and very, very strong in and of itself. So overall, his kit, I think, is very strong. Also, his True Grit gives him a little bit extra armor and MR, so it makes him just that much more bulky. And that I think that works with his close range, up close and personal style. I think that without True Grit, he would really be ineffective. But overall, he's really, I think, very strong for his role. A little bit more aggressive, up close and personal, 80 carry, and capable of some really, really nice damage, and just has a really well-rounded kit. He has very high base attack damage, but a little bit lower attack speed, and his movement speed is also a little bit slower. As the game goes on, not quite as mobile, someone like, say, like Asriel, but still a very strong 80 carry nonetheless. So that rounds out our count for the Tier 2 champions. That was Graves, Draven, Varus, Ashe, and Twitch. Now moving into the Tier 1s, I would say that these champions are definitely the strongest right now. I think that these 5 pretty much typify the elite tier. I think a lot of people would probably agree, and you see a lot of these champions in the LCS matches going on right now. You'll probably see a pick or ban of at least one of these champions in almost every single game. I would be very confident in saying so. Vayne is very interesting. She's actually one of my favorite 80 carries as of late. The thing about Vayne is that she can become an absolute monster late game hyper carry to the point where she just kills everybody in about 2 seconds flat. She's crazy strong. And the biggest thing about Vayne is her W is when you land 3 consecutive auto attacks, you deal bonus percentage true damage. And it is absolutely crazy. I mean, think about it. You're doing 8% of the target's maximum health. If somebody is, let's just do this quick. If somebody has 4,000 HP times 0.08, as the server is not found, we're going to do it on my laptop. That's 320 bonus damage. That is crazy bonus damage. She will shred through tanks. Very, very strong ability. I would say that the Silver Bolts is really what makes Vayne work. Her Tumble is a really, really nice, almost spammable 2-second cooldown, 30 mana. Very, very cheap, very spammable repositioning skill. You get a little bit of a damage bonus. And then her Condemn gives you that self-peel where you can get somebody away from you, knock them into a wall, and stun them. Early in mid-game, this is almost a guaranteed kill if you can land a really nice Condemned on the enemy AD carry. And it synergizes very well with her Tumble. You can tumble into position, get a Condemn against the wall, and boom, it's almost an instant kill with that stun. You get that bonus movement speed when you're chasing, very nice. And then her final hour is a really nice ultimate. Gives you the damage steroid, enhances your other abilities, gives you stealth with your tumble. It's a really strong kit. And she has great synergy, I would say, that all of her abilities work very well together to accomplish her task, which is very mobile, very high damage, very strong on positioning, positional play. The only issue I would say with Vayne is she has 550 auto attack range, and that is it. There are none of these skills, her condemn is 450, so none of her abilities give her any sort of poke. If you look at some of the other champions that we were looking at, they all have maybe one ability that gets up to about 1,000 range. But with Vayne, 550 is as much as you get, so her auto attacks are the only form of poke that she has, and she kind of has a little bit of a weaker laning phase, and she has a very high skill cap just because you need to land good condemns and good tumbles. But her late game potential is unrivaled with the Silver Bolts, so very, very strong champion. I definitely think she deserves to be in the top 5. Now, Tristana. Tristana is probably my favorite AD carry just from like a sentimental perspective. I think she is so funny. I love that she's a Yordle. I love her her voice animations. Just her running around with this giant cannon stuffed under her arm. I think she's hilarious. And I also think that her kit is very, very interesting. Now, the biggest thing about Tristana, and I think what really has brought her into the lineup up to 23% played, is her passive. Is really, I think, what makes Tristana's kit work, combined with her Q. Her passive basically grants her bonus range per level. So at max level, she goes up to 703 range. So I don't know what I said earlier, but 703 range at level 18 is absolutely massive. That gives her the highest auto attack range without skill boost at level 18. She becomes an absolute monster. And then you combine that with her Q, which is the highest attack speed steroid for 7 full seconds. At level 5, 90% attack speed steroid. That is crazy. I mean, think about that. From 703 range doing 90% attack speed boost, that is crazy, crazy damage. Tristana is really capable of being a late game monster. Then her rocket jump is a really, really interesting ability. It's a really long range, 900 range, kind of a reposition or a jump or a blink type ability. It's a little bit slower, but it is very, very useful. It also will slow units when you land on them and also deal magic damage. So early game, her rocket jump is very, very powerful to get yourself into position to get kills, get that slow off, you deal that damage, and you just wreck them. It also makes her very, very strong and probably one of the best tower divers in the game just because of the reset. Because it will reset upon a killer assist. You can jump in, get a kill, jump out, and you're fine. You don't have to worry about that turret killing you. It makes Tristana very, very powerful. It's just a very, very effective repositioning skill. Her explosive shot is kind of an interesting ability. It scales with AP, so it really is pretty much worth. The active specifically is very, very worthless. Towards the end, I mean, really the only thing it offers is the 50% health healing or health regen nerf, but I mean, it really is not going to do that much damage. 270 damage compared to your auto attacks at higher levels is pretty worthless. I think it's better. The better part of explosive shot is the passive. It gives her a really good wave clearing potential. Basically when you kill a minion, it will explode and deal AoE damage around it. So late game, when you want to clear minion waves really quickly, it allows her to do that. But it also has the flip side of early game. If you can end up pushing a lane faster than you want, which can leave you open to ganks, which isn't quite a good thing. But it's an okay ability. I would say that it works a little bit. This is her key ability on AP Tristana, which I think is also a pretty viable build. But for AD Tristana, not the best ability. And then her Buster Shot is very interesting ultimate. The biggest thing is not so much the damage, but the knockback. 1,000 knockback at level 3 is pretty crazy. You can use it in a variety of ways. You can rocket jump over someone, knock them back into your turret. You can knock chasing enemies away from you to make sure that you get away. Really, the knockback is interesting. You just have to make sure that you never use it to ensure that an enemy gets away when you're chasing them. If you don't know if you can kill them with it, you really need to make sure that you don't use it because Yeah, I've definitely, especially when I was learning Tristana, there'd be times when I think I can get the kill with the Buster Shot, and then I end up missing, and they get away just because I knocked them back. So Tristana is very interesting. I really like her a lot, and I think that specifically because of her range and her late game power with her Q, she's really, really strong. She's got a great jump with her rocket jump. And a very interesting champion overall, capable of doing some things that a lot of other AD carries cannot do. Now moving on to Asriel. Asriel is probably the AD carry that I really got in deep with first. He was the one that I really kind of clung to the most initially. Asriel is one of the most well-rounded, all-around AD carries. He really is just very well balanced, very well capable of fitting into almost any team composition. He really doesn't have any specific weaknesses. I wouldn't say he scales into late game the best. That's probably his biggest weakness, is he doesn't have, like Tristana with her attack speed steroid and her range. He doesn't have anything like that. But that's not to say that he's definitely very useful, and he sees a lot of play in competitive play. And especially in Season 2, he was extremely strong. Asriel's greatest strengths are his mobility, specifically with his high movement speed and also his arcane shift. Gives you a really nice quick teleport. It's very quick, it's very fast, it's very instantaneous, and it allows you to get out of a lot of sticky situations. You can blink over walls, you can blink out of something like a Jarvan ultimate. Very, very useful. Has an 11-second cooldown at level 5, so very, very strong. His Q is also a really nice ability. It has extremely low cooldown and low mana cost, so you can pretty much spam it. Scales with AD. It has really nice poke. It also allows some really nice burst because it will reset the auto attack timer. So basically, you auto attack, Q, auto attack, and you can do some really nice burst damage. It's a really, really strong and powerful ability, and it's probably the core of his. He's a little bit more of an AD spellcaster than a straight AD carry, just because he relies a lot on his Q for raw damage output. His W was nerfed. It used to be a really nice attack speed boost, but now I think it actually would reduce enemy attack speed, but now it only boosts allied attack speed. So, to be honest, there are games when I play as Asriel that I never once even fire my Essence Flux. It scales with AP, so at level 18 or at level 5, it's doing 250 base damage, which is really nothing to go home and speak about. It's really not that useful unless you're going for more of an AP build. And I know that there are some builds that max this ability very, very last. Really, a lot of times you'd rather get another auto attack than waste your mana on an Essence Flux, personally. But I already talked about his Arcane Shift, a really nice blink ability, will also do some damage. And then his ultimate it's global, it's very wide, it has a wide variety of uses, it does a lot of damage. You can use it for wave clear on enemy minions all the way across the map. You can use it to snipe, you can use it to initiate a team fight. Has a really wide variety of uses, and it's one of the reasons I think why Asriel can fit into a lot of teams so well, is just because his ultimate is so useful. So Asriel, I think, is probably the jack of all trades. AD carry can really do a lot of things quite nicely. Now moving on, I believe Miss Fortune is next. Miss Fortune is definitely strong. She's seen a lot of play recently, and I think that her best strength is just her laning is almost unparalleled. She's one of the strongest laners in the game. Her passive gives her some really nice movement speed. It allows you to go without boots if you so desire early game, just because if you're going to be staying in the back and farming and not really trading a lot, you really don't need boots because your passive will give you that extra movement speed. Her double up is a really nice ability. You can use it in lane to harass an enemy AD carry. You can kind of, basically what you do is you fire it on the minion in the back, and then it will bounce to the champion standing behind them trying to hide. It also does nice damage. It's nice in a team fight. Scales nicely. So it's a really solid ability. And it's one of the reasons why her laning is so strong. Her impure shots is really nice. It actually will do a really nice job. The passive is really nice. It will stack damage on hit. And then it will also, the active is nice for the attack speed boost. Having an attack speed boost is really, really handy, especially late game, just to really make sure you're outputting as much damage as possible with your auto attacks. Now, her Make It Rain is a nice slow. It's primarily what it's used for, not necessarily the damage, but the slow. it's really a nice ability to make sure that somebody's not getting away from you, or you can use it if people are chasing you to prevent them from catching up. And then her bullet time is her most signature ability. Really long range, really nice cone of fire, high damage. Basically, this ability is really massive in the mid game. It can do just boatloads of damage to a team in a team fight around Dragon. Kind of that's really where it's most useful is you wait for the enemy team to all kind of group up and you just bullet time them down, and you really, really can do a lot of damage to the entire team. And I would say that her bullet time and combine that with her double up and her impure shots is what really makes Miss Fortune tick. She's an extremely strong laner. She's a real bully in lane, and really right now I think that the meta kind of favors to really to snowball your lane. If you can do really, really well in lane, you can snowball, you can zone them out from CS and experience, and just get ahead that way, and then take that lead into the late game. And then lastly, the most popular champion, and I would say rightfully so, at least in my opinion, is Caitlyn. She's very, very strong AD carry, and really Caitlyn is all about this number right here, this 650 auto attack range. From level 1 to level 18, she has the highest base initial auto attack range in the game. And she's all about poke. She's all about safety. She's all about a lot of damage from afar. She gets bonus damage with her headshots, which is nice. Any extra damage on your auto attacks every 6th, I believe that it levels with your ultimate. It's very useful. Her Piltover Peacemaker 1300 range and doing all this damage is really, really nice. It does have a 1 casting time, 1 second channel casting time, so it's slow, but it's still very strong and very powerful, and a really nice poking ability. Really good for wave clear and getting a lot of minions. Really nice poke ability. Her Yordle Snap Trap provides some really nice utility, gives you that extra little bit of vision. Just a very useful spell, I think, that having vision helps you stay safe. You can put one in the river or in the brush, just keeps you safe in lane. You can even use it to help you zone the enemy out. You can kind of put them on their side of the lane to prevent them to getting in position for some good last hitting. Her 90 caliber net is a really useful escape. You can use it to, it's mostly best used for defense if you're trying to get away. You shoot the net into your chaser and then propel yourself away from them. So a very, very nice escape ability. And then her ace in the hole is a really high damage, long range, single target snipe shot. Not the most useful type of ability in like a team fight. I mean, she really doesn't have the best team fight presence just because of the long cast time on the Piltover Peacemaker is her only AoE spell. But her range is really what makes her tick. Just having this really long range allows you to be safe. You can lane. I mean, there's really nothing that your own opponent can do to ruin your laning. If you're playing smart and safely with your positioning, there's really nothing that can be done. And I think rightfully she's the best AD carry for that reason. And so that's it. Those are the stats. Overall, I think these are pretty accurate. Certain champions I think could go in other certain places. Asriel's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. Maybe this is a little bit high for him. Maybe someone like Draven should be a little bit higher. Maybe Cogman should be a little bit higher. But overall, a lot of this is very much, I think, specifically with maybe other than Ergot, with the rest of these AD carries, and maybe a Quinn also doesn't really fit, but a lot of them is just a variation on a theme. They're all just a little bit of a different way to play the same basic role. They all have a lot of similarities. It's just kind of depending on your flavor or your playstyle. Some of them are a little bit better, more aggressive. Some of them are a little bit more safe and passive. Some of them are pokey. Some of them are bursty. A lot of it really comes down to your personal preference and playstyle. Not necessarily that one champion is bad, just that certain champions tend to fit the meta a little bit better, or certain champions tend to be a little bit more flavor of the month, or certain styles or trends, all that stuff. But really, I think they're all quite viable. But overall, those are it. Those are kind of the breakdowns right now based on these Law King stats and just kind of my interpretation of them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, definitely leave me a comment down below, and I'll do more of these, and I will see you soon.